from, driving in this morning from my house, seeing everybody at game day, big noon kickoff, seeing people around the stadium, tailgating, and then the atmosphere in the stadium. We came out for warm-ups. I mean, there wasn't very many empty seats, and for a noon kickoff, to have that many people in the stadium was amazing. And so, for an atmosphere like that, week one, to bring everybody together was great for our team, and I think it made a huge difference in the fourth quarter. So I want to thank, I say all the time, it takes everybody, and the fans certainly brought it today, and I'm just proud of our guys. It's a great win to start the season. Great. I said in the locker room, I thought he handled himself well. I thought he took care of the ball, made some throws when he needed to. A couple times when it wasn't there, he did not force it. Could we have opened it up more in the second half? Yeah, but I thought Brian called an unselfish game. I thought the defense was playing well. When we got the ball back on the 10-yard line there, with 8 minutes to go, we ended up running off about 4 minutes off the clock. And we thought that was important. We talked about it this week. In week one, we can't beat ourselves. We want to let them beat us. And for a first-time starter, you just don't want to put them in that situation. So hindsight says we did the right thing, but you're just never too sure. But I thought that the drive that the offense had there in the first half, I think we ended up over 8 minutes off the clock, which was part of the game plan, because we wanted to keep their offense off the field, and then to finish it with that 4th and 1 was big. And then the play by Carnell, but the story of the game was the defense. Matt, I thought, put a good game plan together. The coaches put a good game plan together, but just the grittiness of our guys running around. There's a lot we can build on here. There's a lot we have to improve on. The team you see right now would not even be close to the team you see halfway through the season or at the end of the year, but it certainly makes the corrections a lot easier to make after the win because of a top 5 opponent like this. I know what kind of a coach man is because I see him every day. You guys don't. So that's the thing about football. I share that with the guys. All the work that you put in the dark doesn't come to light until this first game. And that's sometimes a sobering thing about football. You put all this work in just to give you a chance, and then you have X number of plays to make it happen. But that's what competitive excellence is, and again, a great start. I thought the game plan was excellent, and the buy-in is what's most important. Plays are plays, scheme is scheme. But what matters is the guys and the warriors on the field, believing in it, and the work that's put in. I can't tell you how much time Larry Johnson and James Ornitis and Matt and Tim Walton, I love the DBs and Jermaine and IGB making that play down there in the end zone. These guys, they work their tails off to prepare their players and to grade out a champion to do their job. And a lot of guys did their job. Again, was it perfect? No. There's a lot of things that we've got to improve on a ton, but at least we have a starting point. Right. We'll have to look at the film and see. That's a stout front. There's a lot of guys in there, and when we play them again, I don't think it's going to look the same way, but. We were leaning on some of our tight ends in there. There was some good runs in there. I gotta really look hard now at the film and see where things didn't go perfect because we were pretty tied in on both edges there, and so those are downhill runs. We're looking to really get physical and push guys around, but I do think that we were getting movement out there. It was not a high scoring game. I think we had 4 possessions in the first half. When it's time to spread everybody out and air it out, we'll do that, create more space. But this is a team that has great teams, a defense that has great team speed, and so we took that into consideration, put the game plan together. It certainly wasn't perfect, but it's a start. Situational football becomes big when you're huddling and slowing the game down, sort of like we are. That means the situations become more and more critical, and understanding what that is and spending time on these situations is what we do, and making sure that we're prepared for them. But you got to go do it. And every time you get a 4th down stop, it's like a turnover. So the interception is huge. But when you start getting 4th down stops in midfield, or those flip the entire field, it's like getting a turnover. So how many 4th downs did we have? 3, 4. So there you go. The one to end the game, but 3 before that's almost 4 turnovers, and that plays into it. And there was. That opportunity we had early in the game on that 4th down. And that was the other thing with Julian, early on, I thought he threw some good balls. He actually had a few drops, which was rare around here. And that made it a different game. You just never know how it starts. or how it's going to finish. But yeah, those fourth down stops were quite well.
Yeah, ton. But I thought I was impressed with this boys. He had a good look in his eye, and what he was saying and what he was seeing was exactly what was going on. That's a great sign. I remember CJ's first start. I remember Justin's first start. And what I mean first start, like, big games. Dwayne, Kyle, Will was different because he played a lot of football, but when you have that first start and you're out there are so many things to take into consideration. When you're the quarterback at Ohio State and you're playing number 1 Texas against one of the top defenses in the country, which we have a tremendous amount of respect for, like, the one thing we didn't want to do, and I didn't want to do, is put him in a bad spot. It's just not fair to him. Now, coming out of it, quite honestly, I think he probably could have handled it. But we weren't going to do that because we know it's a long season, and that was the decision that was made. And so we'll go from here.
We said that we want to set the tone. When you start a season, you want to set the tone for the season. There's a lot of guys who are stepping into roles for the first time ever. And for these guys to step in and really have a great energy about them, I thought they were poised. I thought the moment was not too big for them. And maybe just because of the run that we went on last year and those guys being in those games, or even for the guys who weren't being a part of it, like a guy like Devin Sanchez who played today, he was with us for those 2 weeks. So he saw what it was like. I don't think those guys batted an eye. Pete Pierce played well. I got to watch the film and see, but there was good play across the board. And it's a reference point as we move forward for the first game of the year. Listen, when I looked at the schedule and said, okay, you open up with Texas at home with a freshman or with a young quarterback, it was like, okay, it might be nice to have a few non-conference games to lead up to the season, but as we got closer, it was just like, this is actually a great way to start, because everyone's going to be on their game. Preseason, as we talked about, July was edgy. August was edgy. We knew we had to bring it this first game, and then I think they fed off the crowd. The crowd was strong today. So this is their team. This is their story. And here's the first job.
We just felt like in week 1 that we didn't want to beat ourselves. So we took that into consideration, everything that we did. And then knowing there's contingency plans in place. If we were down 2 scores, this call sheet had all kinds of different contingency plans. Well, it's the same thing on defense. And he is going to be a great quarterback and is a tremendous talent. But anybody you play in that first week, you just don't want to beat yourself, and then you go from there. We made some really good throws there in the fourth quarter. You can see the talent, but give our defense credit. Come on and say what exactly it was, but they took his helmet away. We'll kind of evaluate how that is moving forward, but I don't see it being a long-term injury. For Arvell has a lot of versatility. You get him on Arvell, just going to see he has all the traits it takes to be a dominant linebacker. So what I saw there today was a guy who's running sideline to sideline from the linebacker position at the second level. But then also you saw him at the end when KJ went down, he was playing up front, rushing capacity, pressure on the quarterback. So he can do all those things. This is probably the most he's played in a big game like this. He'll learn a lot from this. We'll see how he grades out. I played this game off of my head every day for the last 3 months. And I didn't know how it was going to go, because when you're going against yourself every day and you have inexperienced players that haven't actually done it on the field, you're not sure. But I had an idea how it would look, but I wasn't sure. So what I was trying to do early in the game was get a feel for what was going on. How was our defense holding up up front? What kind of rhythm were they in? How fast were they playing? What did we look like in terms of the front on offense? When we moved the line of scrimmage, how were the running backs running? Brand new running backs, were they taking care of the football? How was Julian handling? What were they doing on defense? And then as the first quarter kind of went on, I could see us, getting off the field on defense. I felt like we were moving the line of scrimmage. We had that big drive. We could get, kind of screwed down inside the 10-yard line early on. You can see we decided at one point to take a play action shot, which almost turned into a disaster. But other than that, we were fairly conservative because we felt like our defense was playing well. And I will say this, at halftime, up 7, coming out, I thought we could go and really flip the scoreboard. We didn't do that. And then as that third quarter wore down, it was like, okay, I feel like our defense can hang in there as long as we got good cheese. So that's how we played this game. We'll see what the next one goes.
All right, Coach, thank you.